Okay, welcome to another episode of Redemption Radio. I am Human Bones, and just like last week, I am joined by Nexus and Ninja Dog. How you guys doing?
Doing really good. How are you?
I'm
I'm good.
good. Good. Pretty exciting week of games, actually. I think we talked a lot about this map last week, which was Towering Gardens, map 18, and how, after week one was sort of that, introduction week to a brand new map, kind of a good, way for people to get to know each other on their teams. And then, jumping into week two, this is like your classic teamwork map. It's gonna take a lot of teamwork to win, and I think that played out in all of our games. All of them were pretty low scoring, and they were pretty close as well to, potentially going 3 rounds. So, only one game went 3 rounds, but I could have seen, all of them doing that. Um, so the first game of the week was WDL and STB, which was the 3 rounder. I know that we talked a lot about WDL in the first week, their decision not to play Denzoa, which, for whatever reason, like they didn't do that. And so I felt like in order for them to be successful and have a shot, like they needed to play their strongest lineup, and they did. So, they won the first round. And then seems like, STB came and make some really big adjustments. I would say watching it, like, two things happened in both rounds. In particular, in the second round, that I felt like turned the tide on the game, which was um, it was tied 1-1, and Ghost Killer, pretty sure, did a rocket jump, grabbed the flag, did a rocket jump out of the base, and like perfect rocket jump, made it out. Nobody saw him. He was able to get across and then take the lead 2-1. And I feel like that really started the momentum for STB. They carried that into round three, which again was close, right? But then similar situation. They were able to basically Poto decided, fuck this, I'm gonna run for a flag in round three, and kind of caught WDL off guard to the point where they basically just, they scored one and then immediately scored a second one because WDL was out of place. And it was just those two small things that I think led to STB winning, which, really good credit to them. Those guys have, really good teamwork, communicated really well, and just, took advantage of situations. So I thought it was a really good game, though. WDL shouldn't be um, you know, like upset about that or anything. I think it's just like, sometimes these games come down to like one or two plays, and that's how I felt about this one. So really good job from STB.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree with you on a lot of what you said there. Like seeing Ghost Killer's rocket jump was really impressive. WDL came out swinging in the first round, so that was their first round win of this tournament, and so that I'm sure helped their confidence a little bit when they were in round one there. But I think what it kind of came down to is they weren't able to be flexible. I think they sort of had one sort of set position and sort of play they were going for, and STV had a little bit more flexibility. Like I talk about finesse a lot, and it's sort of the ability to get flags out when the odds are against you and do these rocket jumps, these jumps. I think STV had a little bit more of that, and because of this, like even with their defender as Poto, like when you're able to rotate, when you're able to have these finesse plays and all that, it gives you a little bit of advantage compared to a team that's a little bit more set. And I think that's kind of what it was. WDL was a little bit set in their position, and STV was able to rotate, sort of bring flags out, and get it in ways that WDL perhaps couldn't. Although I thought WDL played really well. Like Denzoa, even if you look at like just simple stuff like the scoreboard, you see Denzoa put up some really good games. So WDL was close. It's just a really hard map, and I think this one, like I said, sort of can go a little bit more in the direction of being in the favor of sort of more finesse sort of players. So yeah, really good showing from WDL, but STB was able to keep their heads in the game after going down round one and bring it back.
Yeah, for sure. So I was kind of thinking that again last week. I think I talked about how I was expecting them to use Denzo, and also I thought it would be maybe more optimal for Denzo to play D, Dragon mid, and then have Sparrow in the running position, which it seems like that's what they did, and I think that worked really well for them. I saw Sparrow was going for a lot of rocket jumps, a lot of fast plays, and definitely they really locked it down pretty well round one. Um, I thought it was a really good showing for them. I think maybe rounds 2 and 3 there were a couple issues with getting capped back a couple times. I know it's tricky on that map, especially if you've got one guy who's out and is about to score, and then your whole team's out of position, and then you have someone just waiting behind to do like a quick rocket jump. You can easily lose two caps on that map in a couple seconds, and I think that's what happened to them at least round 3. Um, yeah, it's hard to say exactly what fell apart for them, but I think overall it was a really strong showing. Again, maybe they STB just kind of found their groove a little bit more in rounds 2 or 3. I really think that game could have gone either way, though. To be honest, WDL was really looked really strong. Game one, Denzo was playing great. Sparrow had some good rocket jumps. Dragon was kind of helping Denzoa, but he was also pushing up a lot. So I thought they did really well. Rounds 2 and 3, STB felt like maybe defensively they played a little better. Ghost Killer had a couple nice rocket jumps. ABC was putting a lot of pressure on them. Poda was doing a really good job locking down D. So I think overall they were just more consistent for the 3 rounds. They kind of stayed cool, calm, and collected over the entire course of that game, and I think ultimately that's what earned them the victory. But it was definitely a close game. I think it definitely could have gone either way there.
Yeah, I mean, it's like on paper, not even on paper, but yes, on paper and in the game, it was a super close game. Could have gone either way. And probably what I should have done before we jumped into that game was just like take a look at the standings real quick. Which actually, thinking about what Dragon said after the game, which was like, oh, this is kind of good for us, as good as it could be for us, because it keeps a lot of teams at that 5 points, 4 points in the standings. So I mean, to his point, right? So if we go through the standings, BG has 10 points, and then three teams have 5 points. So WW, LKD, and UAC. STB with 4, and then WDL with 1. So you know, there's it's week 2, right? Like, yeah, right now BG has that 5 point lead, but I mean, between like 2 and 5, who knows what's going to happen after this week? So, everything's kind of bunched up in the middle, which is a really good place to be in a league, in the middle of the season, because it really could go either way. You sort of control your own destiny at this point. So yeah, I guess to wrap all that up, like WDL should not be, um, you know, too worried. Like, yeah, have some concern because there's only 2 games left, but you know, um, seems like perhaps you settled on a lineup. So now you just to Sparrow's point that I just shared on the screen, make sure you get the proper practice because uh, probably having 3 losses is not the way to punch your ticket to the playoffs. So. But STB, doing really well, 1 win, 1 loss, so they are on the move. Jumping into the next game, so both games happened today. Both of the other 2 games happened today. One was really early. Thanks, guys, for that one. That was at like 9:30 my time, so that was what UAC and LKD. So this was your game, Ninja Dog, but I will um, sort of give my thoughts on it first, and then would love to hear from you. But yeah, I think last week, I talked a lot about like the sort of chemistry synergy between like a J War Legion type combination, and I felt like uh, this game, was kind of the epitome of that. Like, much different than the week 1 map. This map really just screamed like having to, like situational playing, having seen so many different situations, like reacting to it in the moment. Yeah, thanks, Amar, for changing the time of the game. Um, And so I just think they took advantage of that, and it's not that you guys, you know, didn't have that ability, because I think when you put Chain in, I know I spoke about this too. Chain is a very similar player, knows how to control the pace of the game. I felt like in round two, when you put Chain in, things were a lot closer, and you just had you gave yourselves more opportunities to score, um, and I just like like the first game, a couple things here and there didn't go your way, and you ended up losing, but. I mean, again, I don't think it was one of those. It wasn't a blowout. It wasn't like it was super close. One or two other flags difference, and you guys would have won. So, yeah. How did you feel about this game?
Yeah, so I mean, we felt confident going in. Unfortunately, game one, it just didn't seem to go our way. I'm not exactly sure what it was. I know we kind of looked back at the demo afterwards, and I know Marine Guy was lagging a lot, and he told me that he was lagging too, which was a bit unfortunate, but not to discredit LKD at all, because I thought they were playing really well. Legion and J Warrior were just putting a lot of pressure on us. So the first game, I was playing mid, and I really felt like I had to play a lot more defensively than I wanted to, just because of how much pressure they were putting in and trying to compensate a little bit for Marine Guy's lag. Game two, we decided to try Chain Dude, which we actually hadn't practiced with that specific lineup at all. So we were all kind of doing different positions. So given that, I think it went about as well as it could have. There were definitely a couple missed opportunities on, I think, in both rounds where we could have had another flag or two if things had gone just a little bit differently. Yeah, it was tough though, because I think game two, and I was playing D, I think Legion and J Warrior had a combined like 39 touches, I want to say. So they were both constantly running. I mean, they kind of just left Amar to play solo D, and it worked for them for the most part. I mean, they were pressuring us a ton. So yeah, I mean, I think they definitely deserve credit. It was a really good showing from them. Going into it, I felt confident, but unfortunately, things just didn't go the way that we were hoping. But we're definitely still holding confidence going into the following weeks. We've already talked about some things we're going to try to adjust and just learn from the loss and move on. So, but
Yeah, I
overall,
know.
yeah, it was a good game.
Someone in the spectator chat was like, "Oh, is Legion just like zombie running?" And it's like, well, yeah. I mean, sometimes that is a viable strategy. Like, you know, so I mean, that's what like there are certain players that can do that. Where just like the idea, and I think probably modeled after the Ralphus strategy of just like generating as many touches as possible, and eventually the percentage is going to line itself up. So yeah, seems like that's what they were doing, was just trying to create as much pressure as possible.
Yeah, that's what I saw as well. Like even before this started, I saw LKD was practicing a lot this week. Um, I had the opportunity to play quite a few games against them. It was sort of that thing, like exactly like you said, Legion was going in constantly for touches. Like it didn't really matter the situation. He was going to touch your flag, and on a lot of maps, that's really not the way to do it. But on this map in particular, I think it actually worked quite well for LKD. Like Ninja Dog touched on, they sort of just left Amar to sit in the back of the base and hold his own, which is, I think this map again lends itself to Amar quite well. You have to play this map unless you've got like a superstar mid D combination where you guys can really rotate super well. Like the D is gonna have to play this map pretty damn defensively, and Amar is very good at that. He's very good at just sticking in his base and really making sure that no one is going to get out with that, and he does that sort of to a T. So that played into it a little bit, and it allowed J War and Legion just to constantly get those huge number of touches. Sort of seeing UAC play round one, like Ninja Dog was saying, Marine was lagging quite a bit, and so that sort of threw off the whole balance where Ninja Dog has to pull himself back, and then that leaves Wiz to run alone. Like honestly, this map's really hard for all positions, and when you're running by yourself, like it's pretty easy to get demoralized and not really get anywhere with the flag. It's super hard just to drag a flag out entirely by yourself on this map. And so that sort of definitely you could see messed with the balance of things on UAC. And then going into round 2, I think this is more of a natural lineup for UAC. Like if you had these teams in Prive go at each other, that's probably the lineup they go for, with Chain running Ninja Dog on D and Wiz in mid. But it's never been practiced. Like because from what I hear, Chain isn't really around as much as everyone else is, so they didn't have the opportunity to practice that, and that sort of leads to a situation where you don't know how you guys are going to do it, and it's not really what you want during the middle of a game. And LKD sort of kept their heads in it and really capitalized on that, from what I saw.
Yeah, and that's like one advantage, one disadvantage of having a player like Jane is the advantage is he could probably go like 2 years without playing, and then jump in sort of cold and like still be a pretty high percentile. The disadvantage is that he doesn't have a lot of time to practice. So, but again, just like I said in the first game recap, like everyone's bunched in the middle, plenty of opportunity left. So, I think it was probably a good thing for you guys because learned that things could work with Chain. So it kind of opens up your lineup possibilities a little bit more. Great. So the last game was WW and BG. So this one again really close. Kind of going back and forth, like trading bars a little bit, and why don't you tell us about it, Nexus? Because I feel like we got to see Dranzer, and so yeah, we'd just love to hear like your strategy and how things played out during the game.
Yeah, so this one was it was a really difficult one. I worked a lot this week. I didn't really have much time to practice at all, to be honest. I was able to to finally get Dranzer to show up for a little bit of practice, and it was like just barely enough practice for me to say confidently that okay, I'll play him. So we went for a lineup change. It just sort of couldn't even really tell you why at the end of the day, but it just sort of worked a little bit better with Dranzer and Sharp. Scholar, he's an excellent player, but for whatever reason, just with the synergy on this map, Dranzer and Sharp were pulling out a little bit more, and so we went with that for this week. Always a little bit nerve wracking changing up your lineup during the middle of the season, but we made it work. This one really could have gone either way. This is a ridiculously hard map for everyone. I was sort of unsure on how WW was going to play it. They did play it sort of how I expected, and so I told my team to just essentially run 2-0. With my communication, I'll make sure they know exactly where the runner is going to come out of my base from if he does get out. And so what ended up happening is by telling both Dranzer and Sharp to sort of run a little bit too well, I was able to get ACC pulled back to help out Saltmine a little bit more, which really helps. But if I've got Tiger and ACC in my base, like it's only a matter of time before something's going to come out. And I was able to hold out most flags. How many did we leak? Actually, let's have a look at the scoreboard. It was super low scoring.
Yeah, I mean, I was just
one in the
looking at
first
that
game,
too.
and then one in the second game. So,
But I mean, the touches, they're not even close. Like they got like
no,
10 more, like overall
yeah,
20, but like 10 more touches every game. And I think
definitely.
you could totally see that too in the game. It's like either Tiger had the flag one time and was trying to run out, and then ACC was coming in and grabbing it. Like it was pretty relentless. I don't know how you managed to fend them off like that.
It was hard. Honestly, it was probably the most stressful game I've ever played so
Hmm.
far. Like it was. I remember looking at this at the time at the bottom of the screen. We were just like up by one, and I saw it was like 5 minutes left. I was like, dear, I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but we were able to hold up. Dranzer and Sharp, they both had really good clutch plays sort of in mid when a flag did come out of my base where just out of nowhere they'd really get that return back for me. So that was huge. I thought WW played really good. It honestly, like different day, different time, like it could go completely the opposite direction. Like this was a very close lineup. I was super relieved when we were able to pull out the win, but like I said, it could have gone either way. I thought ACC played really well. If there was one thing I could say I'd change up from WW is I noticed they're running out of main a lot. Mostly Tiger, but I saw ACC do it a couple times as well. I noticed like even if I died and got a really bad spawn, I had like an 80% chance that they were just gonna run out main. So if I didn't know where the flag was and they were running out with it, I'd run main and almost every time I was able to intercept. So that's one like really small detail that I was able to catch up on, which honestly probably saved the game for me. So I think maybe a little bit more variation in running strategies for WW would go a huge distance for them. But yeah, super close game. Could have gone either way, and I'm really relieved to have pulled that one out.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good game. I don't think I got to. We practiced against your team a little bit, but I
A
think
little bit, yeah.
mostly I helped WW this week. They were playing quite a bit, and they were. I thought they were really good. Saltmine's doing a great job playing D on that map. ACC and Tiger are both putting so much pressure on you constantly. So I thought it was going to be a close game last week, and I was right. But I thought they were playing really well. So I was definitely impressed to see you guys pull it out and two there. I would say I was watching probably most of that game, almost all of that game. I was watching Dranzer, and I personally that was my vote for MVP this week. I thought he did really great. He was running most of the time, but every time that you needed him to be there or you needed him for a return, he was there and he got
That's
it
right,
every
yeah.
time. He was helping Sharp a lot. He made some really good kills, really good flag captures. I thought he played really well. So I was really glad to see that he showed up for you this week because I think not to say that, I mean, I know Skullrush is a great player and everything, and maybe you guys still would have won with him. I'm not saying that you wouldn't have, but definitely I think that map fit just Dranzer and Sharp working together. It worked really well. You were doing a really good job holding off Tiger and ACC, which is definitely not an easy feat because they're just constantly putting so much pressure on you. But yeah, overall, I think you guys deserve that, and I really didn't see. I wasn't watching um, for the most part anyone else other than Dranzer. I just wanted to see how he was doing, and I was really impressed to see him play as well as he did. So yeah, I think you guys definitely deserve the win.
Yeah, he showed up in a big way for us. I was really happy with that.
Yeah, I'll jump into quick story time because as an old person in this game, I have lots of stories. But and I remember this particularly because um, I spent whatever. I think I lost 3 finals in a row before I won one, maybe 4. I don't remember. And so it was like a really long time. And the map 26 status idol with the tunnel in the middle, and
Oh God.
so
Yep.
yeah. So I picked that as my home field because I knew it would. That was the reaction everyone had was, oh God.
Yeah.
And I was playing against Ralph's team. It was like Ralph Blair and I think Tony. I think Tony. And Ralph is like just fucking relentless with the run. And we're probably in like round 5, and I'm like my hands. I have carpal tunnel, so at that point my hands are like, please, like, can I either win or lose? Like, just end it. And I remember, we were up like maybe 1 flag, and that map's really hard to score on. And I'm standing there like next to Rude, and we're watching, and it's just like Ralph Blair out of that fucking tunnel just endlessly, like a tube of toothpaste. And we're just like, what the fuck? Like, it just wasn't stopping. They kept coming at you. So it's super intimidating when you have people that are just like, when they get that many flag touches. It's really hard to deal with. So you did a really good job, shutting that down, especially like really good runners like Tiger and ACC. Yeah, so I agree with what you said about them, though. They just maybe mixing up their strategies a little bit. I mean, it's easy to get locked into like, I've been practicing this way all week. Let me just do it. Eventually, it's going to get through. So yeah, it can be hard, but uh, again, to wrap it all up, like nobody has anything to be too worried about yet. Everyone's mixed up in the middle there with five or 4 points. So really good week though. I thought this is actually a really great map to stick in the middle of the season. Yeah, just really promotes that teamwork, and I think every team learn something about their team. Like some teams, both of you guys, mixing up the lineups, getting to learn, how your teams work better. I just think it was positive all around. So really fun week. And leading into map 23, which is a completely different map than map 18, Mercurial. This one is more just like brute force your way out. I mean, definitely teamwork, but it's more of just like finding that 1 or 2 seconds that you might have to run across the middle. Um, or even play around with rocket jumping out of the tunnel. Like, talk to me about your guys' thoughts on this map because I've played a lot of really bad games on this map, so I don't have particularly good memories of it.
Yeah, I quite like this map. This is a super common map in Prive, so everyone's going to recognize this. Everyone's had hundreds of games on this map pretty much. Like, it's not really going to be any surprises for anyone. Last week was the only map without a power up, so coming back to 23, it's sort of a return to form where teams are going to have to really focus on timing items again. That power up's going to be
If you need any
huge.
help on timing items, by the way,
Oh yeah, yeah. I'll get
right
you.
here.
I'll get you in the voice chat. Um, yeah, no, it's sort of a return to form for everyone. It's a very straightforward map, but it still does require, I think, quite a bit of teamwork. There's a little bit of a visibility sort of divide in this map where you can quite easily sneak in and out of someone's base, especially using that top route or side. There's sort of a couple areas where you can kind of sort of duck and hide and really get out of the way of the defender's sight line. So it's going to require a lot of communication from the mid and the runner, from a defender's perspective at least. Timing that item, like I said, is going to be huge. And yeah, I think the best teams on this one are going to be teams that can rotate. Like, there's going to be a lot of situations where the defender can quite easily push up to mid, and so that leaves the power up in the defender's hand quite often. And so that means that the mid's gonna have to, or even the O is gonna have to take over the defender's position for a minute and hold down the base while they go for a run. So sort of the best teams on this one, I think, are gonna be the teams that can communicate, get around that visibility divide, get around the timing of the item, and sort of rotating positions. And yeah, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be pretty predictable, this map, but you never know. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with a lot of what you're saying. It's nice to have that power up back on this map. So definitely going to be timing that's going to be critical, I think, for runs here. Also, just the fact that it is a brute force map, but you still really have to be careful. People can be going the top route and hiding. Can be going side and hiding in the little rocket launcher area. I mean, I've even seen a few times in Prive where people will come out of the top and rocket jump, into main. So there's definitely, there is still some finesse to this map. I agree. I think communication is going to be critical. I think this map will be a little bit more rewarding for pushing up, especially compared to a map like 18. It's going to be somewhat similar to how 71 played, where you're going to see probably the defender pushing up to the enemy base a lot, and you're going to see just a lot more pressure than you saw. So I think it's going to be a really nice change of pace from 18. It's definitely, I would say, it'll play more similarly to the week 1 map versus the week 2, but it's going to be a lot of timing the items, communication, fragging, but also trying to get some nice runs, mixing it up through the top, main, and side entrances. So yeah, it's one of my favorite maps personally. So I'm definitely really looking forward to playing this one for sure.
And that's because nothing kills you, and you can just kill everybody. But no, you guys hit on really good points. Like, uh, probably defended that map more than any other position there, and it's like when you first spawn. I mean, pretty much on that map, it's like whichever person on the team really can get the sphere, should go for a run. And then as long as somebody falls back and covers the D, like to your point, being able to be flexible like that, super important. And yeah, I mean, especially if you can get like either as a mid player or a defender up into that doorway of your enemy base and just essentially spawn frag and keep them in there, like that can make it first of all, again, really piss the other team off and cause them to, be disrupted and do some things that they probably wouldn't do. But I mean, it just exerts control, and that's kind of like, that's really the essence of this map is making sure that you have control of, not just your base, honestly, but the base and the middle. because there's no way to really get through the middle undetected. So yeah, I think it's a really cool follow up to what you just played. It's going to show a different side of all the teams. So excited about that. And just going down the list here, we have UAC versus STB. So yeah, I guess thinking about this, I mean, I think this map, to your point, Ninja Dog, about liking this map so well, I think this one really suits your team very well. I think, I wouldn't be surprised to see you or Marine or anyone on your team really get like 110, 120 frags, like something like that. And it's going to be really tough for STB to get flags out. I mean, who knows what position you're going to play, but it doesn't really matter. Like, I'm certain that you're going to, rack up a lot of kills. So it's really just going to be about STB finding those moments to, maybe find you out of position or string something together. It's going to be tough for them. I think a map like this. It's not easy for people to get flags out when you've got heavy fraggers. So yeah, what do you guys think about this game? I'll go with Nexus first because Ninja Dog can't
Sure.
comment too much on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think actually, honestly, this is probably the match I want to see up like the most. I think this is a really important one. STB, I'd be very surprised if they didn't go for Ghost Killer D, Poto mid, and AVC O. That's I think what they're gonna go for. That's just me speculating, but I'd be very surprised if they didn't go for that. And I think that's a pretty reliable lineup they have there. You're gonna play very similar to map 71 in round 2 there, where they played Ghost Killer or they played AVC, sorry. And that was a really tough lineup to go against. So I'm interested to see how UAC sort of combats this. I fear a little bit for Marine Guy after seeing what was happening in week 2 here. I'm really hoping that he can sort of revert himself back to how he performed in week 1 and really just hold things together. I think he should be able to, but it'll be interesting to see sort of how that plays out. Because, if it happens a little bit like week 2 happened, it really leaves the door open for STB and they could really capitalize on that. But it hopefully it doesn't for UAC. I'd like to see a really fair game where they don't have to really worry about lag or anything like that. It's just skill versus skill. So I think this could be a very close one, and like I said, the one I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah, I realized I didn't give a prediction. I do think that UAC is going to win. I think it's going to be a bit too difficult for STB to overcome, but yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good game for sure. I mean, their team's also very, very fraggy for sure. Poto, ABC, and Ghost Killer. I definitely don't think it's going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination. I think it'll be a really good game. And like I said, after the game we just played, we're already kind of talking about maybe some things we're going to do or potential strategy going into it. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. But I'm definitely looking forward to this one.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Yeah, and then we've got LKD and BG, so the game between the only two teams that won in week 2. Well, you know what I'm trying to say. Both of these teams won in week 2, and they're playing against each other. That's the only time that's happening this week. So both teams coming off of really good wins. Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to this map, I mean, you're not like the strategies, like to your point, it's played a lot in Prive, it's been played a lot in leagues, it's just played a lot in general, and it's not a very large map. So no one's going to be doing anything surprising here. So it's just a bunch of, again, to go back to that like situational thing I was saying, knowing when the right time and the wrong time is to do something. So everyone here is pretty experienced. I would tend to, I mean, on the experience side, obviously, I tend to lead towards LKD, but the frag power of BG is tough to, to overcome. But yeah, I think I've been really enjoying watching the team play with J Warrior and Legion, and backing it up with Amar. I mean, on a map like this, I look at Amar very similarly to Ninja Dog. It's going to be really hard to get around him. I'm assuming he's going to play D or mid, but either way, like it's going to be hard to kind of outduel him in the frag category. So I just think it's going to be a tough one for BG. So I'm leaning towards LKD to win this.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a good game. Personally, I think that BG might need to utilize Dranzer again. I think that this map just fits his playstyle so well, where he's a really good offensive mid kind of player where he will push up a lot and he will just kill or at least shoot at everyone that he sees. So personally, I feel like he will probably be needed for this map. Especially after what I just saw watching how Dranzer and Sharp work together. I think they play really well together. I've personally played with Sharp before on this map in Vengeance a couple years ago, and he's definitely good at this map. So, and Nexus is just he's getting like 100, 110 frags for sure. So I think I'm almost leaning more BG this game, but however, I definitely don't want to discredit LKD because I think Amar is also going to be very difficult to run on this map. Legion and J Warrior are probably just going to be applying a ton of pressure this game. So I'm definitely I think this one could potentially go either way, but just if I had to make a prediction, I'd probably say BG maybe 2-1.
Well, I mean, both of those guys, like J-War and Legion, like their item control capabilities are so good that, like, on this map, it really is important getting the power up. So I don't know, that also helps my decision to lean towards them. But if I'm gonna sit here and say like I'm gonna be surprised if BG wins, I'm not gonna be surprised if BG wins. But I don't know, just on paper, that's kind of how I'm feeling. Sorry, Nexus.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to prove you wrong. Try.
You should.
Try. Yeah, no, it's gonna be a tough one. If you look at my schedule throughout the whole season, it doesn't let up for me. I've got a really hard lineup to play against every single map. Like I feel playing WW this week was honestly probably the scariest map I could play those guys on. And then coming up to this map again, I think it feeds really quite well into LKD's sort of play style. Amar is going to be quite hard to play against. I'm not going to sort of go into it too much because, we haven't played it yet. It's all going to come down to the game, so we'll see. But definitely looking forward to this one. Regardless of how it goes, I'm going to enjoy playing this map.
Yeah, and then we've got WDL and WW. To me, the game of the week for a couple of reasons. One, just the shit talking alone. Very excited to see that. Someone other than me is going to get, ACC talking a bunch of dumb shit too, which will be Dragon. So I'm excited for that. But really, like, these two teams have 6, 8 really good players. And they're all really experienced. So when you look at it on a map like this, I mean, it's going to come down to like the smallest details. It's going to come down to someone having grabbed, the sphere instead of someone else. It's going to come down to communicating. Like, it's no surprise that if you play this map like most people play this map, which is, as I mentioned earlier, whichever one of us grabs the sphere, just go for a run, making sure that when you do that, you don't get caught up in like the momentum of, okay, there's 3 of us going for flag. Like, someone's got to make sure they fall back and guard the flag, because that's the perfect opportunity every single time for the other team to come in and grab the flag and catch you out of position. So I think stuff like that, the fundamentals of Doom CTF are what's going to separate like these two teams. I think, just minor mental errors, and it's all going to be, dependent on what's going on. So I don't even know. Like, I would honestly. Can you tie in this league? And I apologize for not knowing the rules. You can tie, can't you, or no?
Regular season, you're gonna put me on the hot seat.
I don't think you can. I think it'll keep
Okay.
going. Yeah.
I think we avoid that.
Yeah, and honestly, calling a tie is kind of a cop out anyway. I think I don't know. I lean towards WW here. Just because I have a feeling WDL may not like. I want to see them bounce back. Like, okay, they won round one this week, but then they lost the next two rounds. And in week one, they lost in two rounds. Like, I want to see if they lose a round, I want to see them bounce back. And I just haven't seen that from them yet this season. Um, so I'm gonna lean towards WW probably winning in three or maybe four if that's a thing. So yeah, I'm not seeing that sort of like that bounce back from WDL yet.
I think this map in particular is a map Saltmine is going to find his feet on really comfortably. Like this is a very very nice map for like someone with a playstyle of Saltmine to play on, and it's a very nice map for someone with a playstyle of literally all of WDL to play on. Like I think if WDL can shine on a map, it's going to be this one, and I think this is going to be a really deciding sort of week for WDL. Like if WDL has any hope of pulling things
It's a
back
must
and really,
win
yeah,
for
it's
sure.
it's a must win to be honest. Like if they've got any hope of pulling it back and really finding their feet as a solid team, this map is it because it's sort of feeds into their playstyles a little bit. They're quite a defensive team, very fraggy map here. So if WDL is gonna pull anything out, it should be this map. I like going for underdogs, but after just playing WW, I put my confidence in WW if I had to put money on it. But like I said, if there is a map WDL could pull anything out on it, it should be this one.
Yeah, this one's really interesting for me because, again, when you look at someone like WW, Saltmine, he's going to be really good on this map for sure. No questions about it. ACC is he's definitely found his footing, I think, as mid, where he's getting really comfortable helping Saltmine when needed, but also helping Tiger run. Tiger is one of the best runners in the league for sure. However, this map is probably going to be the hardest for him, I think, so far of the 3 weeks, just because his options are more limited than they have been. He's more of a kind of a blitz runner, and I think there's definitely more of a chance of him getting shut down on this map than the other maps combined so far. That's just what I think. WDL, I do agree that this is probably going to be their strongest map so far out of all three of the weeks so far. Denzoa, Dragon, that's going to be tough to get through them for sure on this map. Sparrow, again, he's going to be more limited than other maps running, like last week, 18, for example, but he's still a really good runner. So this, again, I think it seems like it's kind of a theme this week, but I think all these are going to be really good games. I could definitely see this going either way. It's really hard to say. I might have to give it to WW21, but I definitely do think that if there's any map that WDL could pull back from, I think it's this map. I know they have good comms as well. They might have a little bit of an easier time controlling the sphere, but then again, I think if WW has Saltmine and ACC, who are both going to be all over that, so it's going to be a really good game regardless. I think we'll see some nice runs on both teams. I think I
Do you
might have to
think?
give it to WW in three
Do you
though, but
do
it's
you
tough.
think Disparrow is gonna run?
I I think that's probably what I would do. I would probably because they seem like they had more success with Denzo on D, Dragon on mid, and Sparrow running. I mean, again though, with a map like this, you could definitely make a case to try to have somebody like Dragon run or even Denzo run if they just focus on blitz running in and out. But I they mixed up their lineup on 18 where Denzo was D, Dragon mid, and Sparrow ran, and I thought it worked really well for them. That's personally probably what I would do, but maybe if they practice another lineup and at different positions and it tends to work better, then they might go
Yeah,
with something else.
I mean, having like played with Dragon so much, I would probably, and he'd yell at me the whole time, but I would probably make him run only because, uh, like, yeah, putting Dragon in mid is to me my go-to scenario every time I play with him. It's like this guy can just kill everything, and really good at communicating. But also there are some maps where it's like, look, we're not. He is a stronger runner than most people give him credit for, and especially on these maps where you do need to kind of bully your way out. Even if it means like, hey, we're scoring 2 flags and they're gonna get one and it's a really close game. Like I feel like a lot of people play for that 5-0, and at the end of the day, that none of that shit matters. Like it just matters whether you win the round. So I don't know. I would think about utilizing Dragon as a runner, and even pulling Disparrow back and having him play D. I mean, Disparrow is a really good defender too. So and then just let Denzo loose in the middle. So I guess it's just going to depend on what they decide to do. But I think you can mix things around a little bit more than what they've done so far, and maybe have some success with it.
It's really good points there, actually. Like WDL has a lot of options. They could pretty much switch up any one of their players into pretty much any position there. So interesting to see how they're going to find their balance there. And also interesting from WW, like we know what lineup they're going to play more than likely, right? I think one of the key parts that Ninja Dog sort of touched on earlier is that they're going to need to make sure the Tiger can find his footing and really get something out on this map. Like I touched on earlier with this week's map that we just played, map 18, I noticed Tiger was going main every time, and that can work on Tamarind Gardens, but I think if you go to a map like Mercurial, that's going to get shut down 100% of the time. So if they really want to win this, I think WW has got to make sure that Tiger really switches up his running style every now and then, and that'll sort of alleviate a lot of the pressure off of ACC. But it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, well, I guess that's all we can do now is wait and see. I forgot to say congrats for winning MVP for week 1, Nexus.
Thank you.
Do you guys have picks for week 2? Who's your MVP pick for week 2?
I don't think I've wrote it down yet, but I'm definitely going to go for Dranzer. I watched the demo back and saw how he was helping me, and yeah, it was really impressive. And I kind of finally riled him up and got him out, started practicing a little bit. So I want to encourage that and make sure he knows I appreciate what he's done. So
yeah, I also voted Janzer, as I mentioned earlier. I think he really showed up in a big way this week. Stepped up for BG when they needed him. He was applying a ton of pressure, but he was also, while he wasn't helping Nexus a whole lot, I think that offensive pressure is what they needed, and the times that he was helping were really clutch. Like he always seemed to be there when the flag was out to mid or when they could have scored otherwise. So I think he, in my opinion, I think he earned it for this week.
Am I allowed to vote as a non-participant, like in the channel?
I think you are, yeah. Anyone can vote. It's
Okay.
to my knowledge.
Well, then I'm gonna vote
Spectator
for Ghost
sport.
Killer because just basically what I mentioned, the turning point in his game, really I feel like came from his couple of runs. And yeah, I looked at him as the sort of catalyst for the STB win. So yeah, I'll go with Ghost Killer for that one. But yeah, I guess that wraps it up. Really exciting games in week 2. So appreciate you guys hopping on. And I guess we will look to see what happens in week 3. Again, no game times yet. Way too early for that. But, we'll probably be back here roughly around the same time next week.
Hell yeah.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And as always, thank you so much for doing this. Can't thank you
absolutely.
enough.
Of course. I will talk to you guys.